Well, hey guys, welcome to another episode of Pitman Racing. In this episode, I finally get the barrels back from New Zealand. So they come back, the platers, and I get my old man around and we put it back together. Hope you enjoy the episode, guys. Okay, so we're working back on the TZ250. I received the barrels back from New Zealand from the NZ platers. So I've been waiting a little bit for them, but they've come back and we've got the box. So I've got some new pistons and rings to go with it. So the bike's ready up on the stand. And so I've got my old man with me to go through it. And we'll, what we've done, we've pulled the old barrels off. And we're ready to open up the box from the platers.
Thankfully they're packed pretty well. A couple of little prezzies.
Nice. Couple of little Christmas treats. Thanks for that, guys.
Obviously you've paid enough.
Alright, so well packed and happy to get them back. Nothing else in there.
No, that's all good.
Alright, so we'll have a quick look over the barrels, see how they are. See if there's any notes they left us. All good?
Yeah. They're really nicely finished. They've machined off the top as well and hard chromed over the lip out to the O-ring groove. So where they'll detonate and just on that corner and burn away, that's all been redone very nicely. The edges have been rounded off really nicely on each of the ports. Can't feel anything out. That feels really nice.
Can they sometimes come back sharp?
Yeah, they if they're not careful and do the job properly, they can have a bit of a sharp edge on them, and that means we've got to clean them up. But these have been done really nicely. We didn't want anything taken off the height of the barrel.
Okay, so what do they do there? They re-weld the top edge there with the where the seal goes in.
Yeah, and then they machine that off, grind it off, because it's hard chrome. This liner that's in there, it's very hard. So they run that over the top as well, and then they machine that off and just go down to the face of the barrel without going any further.
And changing the deck height of the barrel.
Yeah, we didn't want that changed at all, because our cylinder head is matched to the piston and the height of the bore.
Yeah.
So for the exact compression ratio and squish that we run between the piston and the cylinder head. So that's very critical on these engines, and so we don't want anything changed as far as our deck height on the barrels. So all of this has been done really nicely. No sharp edges. Really nice finish. I'll just pull the piston out that we sent with it. We sent a new piston with it, and I'll just see.
So they match the piston.
They grind the barrel to exactly the correct tolerance that we require.
Okay.
So that's really nice. Just feeling the clearance between the piston and the bore.
Okay.
Without measuring it, just initially feeling to see what it's like. And they've done lots of barrels for us previously.
Yeah.
And so they always come back exactly right.
The right clearance.
Yeah, and that's real critical. That feels really nice.
From the last video, guys, we had the test day out at Malala, and it was when we were testing the new Ignitec ignition, and we had the spark plug failure. So we wanted to show you guys what happened with that cylinder. Obviously, the cylinders we just got back are the ones that got damaged, so you're not going to see the cylinder, but this is what the piston and the heads came out. So
the porcelain out of the centre of the spark plug dropped out and jammed between the head, and you can see the marks in the head and the piston, and obviously that caused the seizure, the nip up that we had. The ceramics is hard and the aluminium's a lot softer, so that's going to damage, and obviously it got hot and just nipped up. So limited damage, but still expensive enough.
yeah.
And so the plugs we replace reasonably regularly. They're the shorter NGK plug, which the reason this engine has it is the cylinder heads and the plugs run really close to the radiator.
Yeah.
And if you try and run the normal length spark plugs in them, you can get a problem between the plug cap and the radiator that's shorting out your ignition. So these shorter on the plug and plug caps to match it. They're a different setup, and
They're a different plug cap, aren't they, as well?
Yeah, a lot better plug cap and spark plug for this bike. So we've got another spare heads that we had, and this one we'll have to decide what happens to it, whether in the future we go to removable inserts in the head. We might do that at some point.
Yeah.
But we had sort of really good condition heads available in our spares, so we've just used that at this stage, and this will be put to one side, and not something that happens often, but it can happen.
It can happen. All right. Well, next step, we'll get these new barrels and pistons together and get it rebuilt.
So what we're doing, we've got genuine rings, which are the Yamaha genuine part, and they're still available, fortunately. And they're classed as a standard ring because there's only one size for with the Nicosil barrels like these, the hard chromed. So what we do is make sure we tested our pistons before and they were perfect, but we just make sure that the ring gap is correct in here. So we just push that into the barrel and square that all up, and then I'll just hold it up and you can actually see the ring gap.
Okay.
So they're perfect. And we'll do the same with the other barrel. I'll put that in, make sure that's 100%. Again, you can see that.
Okay, so you check this after you get the barrels back each time?
Yeah, when you put a new set of, just in case, I mean, very rare that it could be packaged incorrectly or something wrong, but it's a possibility, and so you just check that to make sure it's right.
Yeah.
If the ring's touching and it can't expand properly, or it's starts jamming in the piston and upsets your performance, it's not right at all. But that correct ring gap, Yamaha stuff is always
the right way to go.
Really accurate.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it. So,
yeah.
But we check it just to make sure. So the rings are good.
All right. So the next step, we'll fit the power valves from the other barrels to the new barrels.
So they're the power valves, and they go down into and they just raise and lower the port. So it's just like a knife block, and they're fitted really nicely around the ports. So they're not sticking out. They're finished really well around. It's a bit difficult to see, but they're
okay.
They fit in there. So that just turns and raises and lower a cable operated drum, and we've showed those before where we've adjusted them up so that we get them both lifted and closed exactly the same time. And then the cover fits on top of those. So we've got some lube that's supplied that was supplied from the guys that did the knicker sealing, and so we just use that as just to lube up the barrel. Make sure we've got oil through there, and we do that on the piston as well and around the rings, so that when it first starts up, we've got no issues with the thing trying to seize up. It means we've got plenty of oil in the cylinder
for that first initial
start up, and it's a bit much oil, but rather a bit much than not enough.
Yeah, they're not enough.
So we'll put it around the rings and the pistons, and it just helps on the initial start up.
Okay, so we've got the new rings going on to the pistons.
So the genuine rings from Yamaha have got you can just see there's a little N marked on that. It's a small letter. It just shows that goes up. So you just make sure they're on that way. I don't know if it makes a massive difference, but you put them on the way the factory suggested.
Yeah. So, I can't zoom in on it right now, Dad, but yeah. So there's a
letter just next to it. It's really hard to see.
Okay.
And that goes up.
I can't zoom in on that with this camera for some reason, guys. So, but anyway, there is a letter there, so that explains to which way it needs to go.
The ring pin's just there, and the rings just sit in there nicely. So they're all set now to put the barrels on.
Alright, so we're getting the barrels on. So Dad fitted the gaskets, put the Yammer bond on it.
Make sure that turns over nicely. Get the O-rings. We've got just a bit of high temperature grease.
Use some grease on the O-rings.
On the O-rings, it just holds them in place to make sure they don't come out when we put the cylinder head on.
Yeah.
So they sit in there.
They sit in nicely.
Yeah.
And so recently we'd got new head bolts.
These are aluminium, and so when you tension them up after a few times, they can start to stretch.
Yeah, okay.
So on the head we've got a couple little dowel pins to locate the cylinder head.
Yeah. I've got to give a shout out to Mark Hatch for organising those head bolts, and also Vince at Fonseca for sending them over. So just makes everything a bit more new, I suppose, because those head bolts are 30 years old, getting close to, and they stretch, and yeah, the parts just start getting worn. We take the heads, take the engine apart that many times, it's always a good thing to refresh the parts.
Yeah, so I'm just holding the head down so it doesn't dislodge, and I'll put a couple of these 6mm bolts in just to make sure it holds there and those head gaskets don't move. O-rings. There we are, that's got that secured down.
The other thing we replaced was the studs, Dad.
Yeah, we put new studs in it the last time it was apart. So unfortunately we can't get new crankcases, they're not available. We'd like a new set of crankcases if that was available,
Yeah.
but it's just one of those things you can't get. So we're happy with what we've got.
Okay, so fitting the other barrel on. Dad put the base gasket on with the 3 bond.
And we'll just feed the power valve in as we go. They just lock in there. That goes down. Nice. A special grease on the O-rings again.
Yeah.
make sure I've got them in the right way.
That looks good.
And this I've felt right around to make sure they're in good condition.
Yeah.
Again, our nice new head bolts.
Yeah. So you make sure you hold the head still.
Yeah, just to make sure it doesn't move. We don't want any of the gasket coming out of where it's supposed to be.
Alright, so we're about to tension up the head bolts. So Dad's got the tension wrench.
So the head tension is, we do these at 17. We'll just go around a couple of times. I won't do them all in one go. Just run over and check them, make sure they're all down. And we do check those after we've run up. Once it cools down, we just make sure they're tension up to correct spec. So
Okay, so she's going back together. Dad fitted up the pipes. He made sure the power valves worked.
yeah, they're cycling through nicely.
Okay. And so you double check once you put the cables in.
Yeah, made sure they were lifting exactly together
Yeah.
and they were wide open so there was no interference down into the port, so they're really nice.
They're ready to go.
Yeah.
Alright, well, that's pretty much it for the video, guys. What we're going to do, I'll button it up together, I'll mount the radiator, get water back in it, and then I'll give it a couple of heat cycles, because with the new pistons and bores, you normally give it a couple of heat cycles, Dad?
Yeah, we'll run it up to temp and then let it cool right down.
Yeah.
We'll check the head tension.
Yeah.
And then we'll give it another run and warm it right through a whole cycle, and then it'll be ready for a running laps.
Alright guys, so we've got the bike back together and I'm ready to give it a fire up. I haven't put the fairings on yet. I'll keep it naked at the moment, and we'll start it up and see if there's any leaks or anything like that. So what I've got planned is a test day this weekend down at Mount Gambier, and I'll run the pistons in with the new barrels. So I want to give the bike a couple of heat cycles. So I'll give it a first fire up now and see how it all sounds. Get it up to temp and then kill it. And then probably another hour or so, once it cools right down, I'll start it up again and do that process. So, alright, let's give it a shot. Turning on the power valves. switching on the fuel. So this is the Ignitec ignition I'm still running, so I can't wait to get that working correctly. So, alright, let's... Alright, a little bit of choke on the first fire up. So this weekend at the test day, I'll be taking the TZ350 out as well, guys. Giving it a good run, making sure everything's working nicely on it. I've got Levi Day racing it over New Year's down at Mac Park at our historic state titles. So I want to make sure everything's working right for him, make sure it's all ready to go hard. Well guys, stoked. Got the TZ back together, gave it a heat cycle. Made sure everything was running sweet, and it fired up straight away, which is it sounded crisp. So what I'll do, I'll give it a couple more heat cycles before I get down there to Mac Park for this track day. Run the bike in, make sure it all runs nicely, go through all the gears, and yeah, hopefully the Ignitec works well and we can get it ready for the state titles at Mac Park over Christmas. So hope you enjoyed the episode. Remember guys, leave some comments, let me know what you think of the videos, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.